Hello, everybody. Welcome to the last show of the year. It's a Friday night open mic. I posted the link to the Hangouts on the within the YouTube chat in case you'd like to join. We're joined by. Did we do it right to left or left to right last week?
Do it randomly today.
Randomly. And they're not going to know who everybody is. Okay. On the left-hand side is Highlander. You there?
Yes. Hello.
How are you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good.
Okay. And second from the, let me see. The Hangouts on YouTube are different.
Yes, they are.
In the middle, it's Disturbed God, Mr. Christopher.
Hello, people.
And between the two of them is Mr. George.
Hi, guys.
And last but not least is Dr. Brian.
Hello.
And this is Hefe as normal.
I don't know about that.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm normally here. So
normally here, yes.
Yes. We're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to take some guesses regarding the siege targets upcoming. At least on what Kixeye has sort of told us now. And then we'll just open it up to end of the year stuff and any topics that anybody from chat wants to bring. So that's about it. Before we start the slides, is there anything anybody would like to talk about?
You know, actually, I actually do have a couple things that I wanted to touch on. A lot of people missed that that gold, the half price gold, which was it was a great deal. Unfortunately, and one thing that I am a little not happy about is that it was only good for 2 hours. You had a limit of how many you could buy anyway, so I don't know what the limit was there for only 2 hours. I wish they had actually extended that. Maybe I would like to see maybe a 500 gold for $25 thing that would come up eventually for some people that buy more gold.
Either that or repeat
it was a really cool thing.
Yeah, either repeat it like with an 8-hour differential one way or the other. That way the people that were at work or were asleep in Australia or whatnot could also participate. And Nines has joined us. Hey, Nines.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
Yeah, I kind of understand why they wanted it to be a limited type thing, but the 2 hour window just kind of threw me off. I don't quite understand what that 2 hour window meant. I would make more sense to me if it was a 12-hour window than a 2 hour window. But like I said, hopefully they do it again this time. It's maybe they'll just do it for 500 for 25 or something, and keep it for a longer window than 2 hours.
And it looks like.
And then the other thing was the what do you call it? The hunt for shards thing.
The global hunt.
It is this global hunt. Yeah, that's going on now. I don't know how much people are going to be really wanting it. I know that the ghost crawler shards disappeared within like 2 hours in my world.
Yeah, mine are all gone, but I don't need any more, so I'm good.
Yeah. We've got about 100 left in 300s.
But those are only two things I can come up with before we get into the slides. I don't know if there's anything else.
Well, Chris, what would you go for with your third ghost crawler? Just kidding. Go ahead, Nines.
Well, actually, I'm looking at a build right now with 61 combat speed. So.
Okay. Nines, you've been wanting to say something.
Well, I was going to say, with the half off gold, I actually know a few people that were talking about it. They were using Facebook, and they were actually saying it was about $7. So it was a little bit more expensive for them. So it might depend on your currency where you guys are at.
That was Canadian money.
Yeah,
it was still.
I don't think that was Facebook. I think that was probably a different country.
Yeah, but it was still half price, regardless of the country you were in. I'm pretty sure it
Yeah.
was still half price for regular to compare to regular gold.
I was close to using some Christmas money and getting all 5 sets.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and start the slides. I'll put myself on present. And I guess I should screen share. And there we go. We're going to talk about cannons. These are all raid cannons. This isn't our potential raid cannons, since at this point in time, nobody knows if we're going to get a cannon before the raid, during the raid, after the raid. So for those people that are sort of antsy to build something, I thought we would go through the potential ones. Because the slide got so big, the table got so large, I had some space filler ones like the impact cannon that provides the 3%, the D35, the W siege cannon, which does a lot of wall damage, and the D35X, which is the super duper siege cannon. But I think these are the main candidates. I threw the hammer in there just so that people that were putting them on their cannoneers or other felt included. And it's not that it's a recommendation by any stretch of the imagination.
Don't. I would not put that. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I've been seeing them. I've been seeing them out and about. I just wanted to put it in there for contrast, as far as maybe you should be using this, maybe you shouldn't. And I think across the board, you probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Unless, the other thing that I haven't included in the slide, also to muck it up, hammer is the only one that doesn't include either splash or piercing. So
on that, can I just add on that note? I actually saw last night someone out with 2 cannoneers with squall launchers on them. Look, anybody that's got that on them, take them off. Just take them off. You'll be so much happier in the long run, because you can be so pissed off when you hit raid and those things don't do dick all. Just saying.
I just saw
not meant for anything but boosting up those resistances in a lead ship, like for the FM. That's it.
I saw a 5-ship cannoneer fleet with hammers trying to do a dub.
Oh God.
And yeah, even those walls that are outdated walls, it took quite a bit to freaking chew through.
Well, now here's the other thing too. We can't look. I know a lot of people are saying walls, and I'm one of them, because I took my guesses are extrapolating from what is on the cannoneer. Okay, that's not to say, like I'm not going to guarantee, hey, we're going to go into the next raid and we're going to find walls. But we also have to remember that S targets are changing month to month. That's the original plan that was supposed to happen last raid cycle, and I don't know that they're going to change that want. So even if we don't see it, I'm still looking at that cannoneer wall damage, stat, and I'm going to stay paranoid. I'm going to remain paranoid about that, because I don't know that they would put that in there for nothing. Okay. But I do want to make it clear that a lot of the stuff that we're going to cover tonight is just extrapolating from what we've seen on the hull itself.
Yeah, and also the recommendations that were made.
Yes.
Within the raid, as far as if you buy this prize, you also want to get that prize.
Right.
So it's a combination of that, because in this first slide, basic information on these cannons. In the second slide, I'm going to try and tailor it more towards potential raid scenarios that were extrapolated, but basically what George was just saying, extrapolated from what we saw during the last raid, meaning the build of the cannoneer, the recommendations, and things of that nature. What KIXEYE has provided to us already in a very public forum. As you'll see, this is just basic information. All the top set is just from the blueprint, except for the bottom line. I've jumped to an assumption that because of the data mining associated with the FM targets, and some other targets, that if your damage type is not one that they intend for you to do, it's going to get it's going to have at least 85 resistance against it. So all the calculations below this line where it says 15% secondary, I'm assuming these numbers. I'm not assuming the original secondary damage, because if you've seen them, some of them go well above that. So I just try to make it more realistic.
Yeah, I actually think that's fantastic, because given how Kixeye has been tailoring the targets and making sure that we have, you want to use this in the target and that in the target, that assumption and then that comparison right there, that last line is probably far more accurate of what your secondary damage is going to be in a raid, rather than just the listing on the blueprint.
Yeah, and as you see,
that.
some of
that a lot.
Yeah, and as you see, a lot of them, it's a fairly large percentage. The largest being the Cannoneer, where basically it's 100. They add another 50% with secondary damage type of concussive.
Yep.
So as we go down to building and wall DPS, you'll see the Earthshaker is number one as far as building DPS. This doesn't count for weight or anything else. This does 6 splash with no other specials. The downside to the Earthshaker is it has a range of 47. And so it's sort of in a different category than the rest of them. Kixeye has set it up for a while. In order for us to click on a ship and be able to fire at it, a ship will go within 95% of its range, so that it can follow that and still be able to hit it. It doesn't go to, let's say you have an Arbalist on a Cannoneer with nuclear accelerators. That range is going to be 100. So it's going to pull up to 95 if you just let it sit there on a stationary target. Now, if you take that, if you paired an Arbalist with an Earthshaker, that's only going to go to 94 with that same ship. So if you have one Arbalist and 8 Earthshakers, those Earthshakers aren't going to fire if you were just aiming at a tower. That's why if you look out throughout this chart and then the second chart, you'll see if the Earthshaker is number one, I've provided a secondary, in yellow, just because it has those downfalls and a slower projectile speed than the rest of them, which can come into play every once in a while, especially if you have them, and you'll notice if you mix the two, if you've been mixing them in the past and you're driving in such a way where you're not aiming at the target, you're aiming at a piece on the water in order to drive by and do whatnot, you'll notice a lot of times that the tower is dead and your Earthshakers are still a third of the way there.
Right.
And so you'll notice that for building DPS, it's number one, followed by the Arbalist at 704. The hammer is at 652, but we've talked about that a little bit, that with siege targets, that's not really a true value, because it's not doing splash, it's not damaging or piercing, so it's not damaging multiple targets. Wall DPS, and so you'll notice that building DPS, it's number one. Okay, somebody's got their. Is that over? Okay. On the next one is the wall DPS. The Arbalist is in a class by itself with Crossbow 3. They're both in their own class as far as the damage they do, not including weight. 2 walls. And the assumptions that we jumped to regarding walls, again, came from what's built into the Cannoneer and the pairing that we saw during the raid. So, anybody have anything so far?
I'm actually
Nope.
quite
Okay.
surprised on the crossbow, just the numbers so far.
Okay.
Seriously?
Yeah, back in my day.
Yeah, crossbows are actually pretty damn good given what they are and how, what they used to be. But I mean, looking at this, I still like the Arbalist Earthshaker combination. I really
Back
do.
in my day, they cost 6 days to build a crossbow 3.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted them.
Okay.
Totally go.
As far as doing, we're down to the 3rd layer now with building DPS and wall DPS per ton. As you see the pack, this does not include whatever chance it's going to, do the Papa Smurf on you. It beats everybody at 1.86 DPS per ton. This doesn't include, the overload or whatever it's called. So it should be your choice if you're just doing siege targets with no walls. I mean, including the the mining targets and whatnot. And then wall DPS per ton goes to the crossbows, which is old technology. How did we even win the crossbows? I even forget. Was that a TLC or
FM.
was that FM?
No
FM?
idea.
FM.
FM.
Yeah, so it was like at that point it was tier 3 of the FM for crossbow 2. Because I think it
And
only
now
had
it's
4 tiers
whatever.
at that point. What?
Sure, that sounds right. Because Tier 5 only came in this year, and those things are old.
And
Yeah.
I think it's tier 3 now for crossbow 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it was originally in tier 3 when we didn't have a tier 4. I mean, it's old, man.
Oh, that
Yeah.
old? Ooh.
It might be that old.
So then we get down to the bottom. Alpha strike is George doesn't like the term. He just likes first strike or
One hit.
whatever.
One hit
One hit.
damage.
1 hit damage.
Alpha strike bullshit.
So this is basically a situation where you think that it doesn't include reload. It's basically a function of, for building damage, is this building damage plus 15% of secondary damage. That's all it is. It's very simple, but this is the damage they do. You drive up to a target, that first salvo that pops out, that's the damage you're going to do. And the Arbalist wins, not considering weight at that point. And the other big winner by a mile is the crossbow 3, which, we've talked about, a little bit recently, how surprising it seems to some that it's still so relevant for siege targets. Alpha's building per ton. This is the Earthshaker, just due to the relatively low reload time and very low weight relative to the rest of them at 115. And this is with Shipyard 3. It would even get better with Shipyard 4. I just made the assumption that most people don't have Shipyard 4 at this point in time. But it's in a class of its own. Second is crossbow 2, but almost half the damage per ton. And then first strike, or whatever you called it, first strike per ton. The crossbow 2 is, again, sort of by itself. 25, over 25% more than crossbow 3. And then you look over here at Arbalist, it's 22.3, a third of it. So these are all good and fine, all these numbers, but they don't really represent any of the targets. We don't know what the targets are going to be. So what I'm trying to go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, unless you're gonna totally go with one thing, like packs, you can kind of build just packs, but everything else is kind of more of a, hey, you kind of usually build and mix and match these things. Like if you're going to use the arbalist,
Yeah.
you're really not going to use the arbalist for just one thing. You're going to use a couple of them to punch through the walls, and then earth shakers to kill the damn buildings. So this is kind of like a mix and match smorgasbord too that you kind of have to go through to get what you want.
Yeah, I completely agree with the first slide. This slide right here, it tells you, as far as weight per ton, you're going to want to put some, I don't know, some crossbows and some earth shakers, right? You're going to say arbalist, but
I'm going to say arbalist. I mean, I look at the numbers and stuff, but when I've tested them all except for the hammer, and I didn't really play with the pack too much, but the one I've always had more success with is the arbalist over the crossbow. Well, better than the D110, but I've actually had better results than with the arbalist and the crossbow. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's because of the extra pierce range. I don't know. It might be just something about that mechanic that the arbalist does better than the crossbow that we're not really seeing because of the numbers. But in actual practice, I have had better results with the arbalist than the crossbow.
Okay. Yeah, and it also, the difference between the arbalist and the crossbow also deals with the spacing of our targets. Because of the lower, let me go back to that one. Because of the reload, it's got an 11 reload versus a 7 reload versus a 5.5. The crossbows love to have targets that are all spread out. That way they can get, they're driving to their target during their reload time, as opposed to a pack. It's ready to fire before it even, before we've even driven there. So it's a function of the layout of the target, because, it's about 30%, it's around 30% of the.
Yeah, a lot of the secondary considerations for what you're going to pick is going to depend heavily on the target. Are the things that you have to kill, are they clustered together, or are they spread apart? Do you have to do a lot of driving to them? There's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. And like I said, I think that's why I've had better luck with the arbalist than the crossbow 3, is because in the targets that we've seen so far, that just little difference in that pierce function actually puts the arbalist up. Whether or not that holds true in the new targets, I have no idea yet.
Yeah, and it really depends on how close they are together. All these things. We're not going to come out with an all-in-out recommendation. I think a lot of people can look into these things and some of the things that we're talking about and try to come to their own conclusions. But what I've done in this slide is I've gotten rid of building and wall damage as two separate things, and in the uppermost table, I've combined them. It's I've equally weighted building damage and wall damage. The second one is 2/3 need for building damage and 1/3 for wall damage. And then the opposite on the bottom one, where 1/3 of it deals with building damage and 66% and 2/3 of it deals with wall damage. And as you see, they all came out with the same rankings. Which is interesting. Arbalist, again, number 1 across the board for DPS, but it's also the heaviest. Earthshaker is, but again, these are different than if you looked at them individually. What I'm trying to do is combine building damage and wall damage into a single number. So if we make the assumption that it's going to be somewhere within these ranges, Earthshaker is number 1 for DPS per ton, followed by a crossbow 2 across the board. Crossbow 3 is number 1 on first/alpha strike, with the arbalist a close second. And alpha strike per ton is crossbow 2. Followed closely by crossbow 1, with everybody else sort of far behind. So that's about it. It's just a lot of numbers, and we don't know. At least, I don't think we know as far as where we should put our priorities as far as wall damage versus building damage, and then consideration of the hulls that you're going to put them on, because that's also going to change things. So that's about it as far as these two, unless anybody else has got any questions or comments.
Now, I will say the Centurions and the Punishers, the flagships will help change those numbers also, since we don't have a flagship capable for the Cannoneers.
But they're not going to change the numbers. They're not going to change the numbers relative to each other. It's going to be linear the way it changes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to change the numbers, but they're all going to change in the same way. If you're going to add 30% to each one of them, that's one of the reasons why I minimized the in the previous slide, why I minimized the impact of secondary damage, because some of the ship specials and some of the specials, or ship specials and the specials that you can install deal with ballistic damage by itself, as opposed to these secondary damage types, which could really skew things, but aren't accounted for by the 50% increase in ballistic damage, or 30% increase in ballistic damage for the drum reloader, things of that nature. So, nothing else? You guys are quiet tonight.
It's interesting because the one thing that you don't have on there is build time, and that's something that we're kind of getting more and more hampered by, and I, as a non-coiner, am extremely hampered by. A lot of my decisions that I made when I kind of drafted up a raid fleet, assuming no new cannon, no new special, but filling the last special slot, which I don't want to do, but I feel like I kind of have to do now. It's based on build time. I may have more Earthshakers than a lot of people. I didn't put on a lot of Arbalasts, not because of the weight issue, but because they're about a day to build versus D110's half a day. Pack is a little less. Hammer's a little less than half a day, I think. Crossbow 3 is 15 hours, I think, something like that. And the Earthshaker is only 4 hours. So you kind of break them down into chunks of what you do, and you go from there, and you hope it's good.
Okay. Well, as far as this, unless anybody out there, Deep Six says Scourge is corrosive damage, so who knows what to use. Well, we can, well, first, this is George's slide. George's girls, they're all staring at him.
Only one of these women are my girls. That's the middle one is, I still think, the girl of the year. So
wait. Did you say the middle one or the midget one? Because I think I can confuse at least to my.
I thought the midget one was Hefe's. The horned demon one was Nines's, and I can't remember who liked that wonky, I don't know, red abomination. I don't know. That thing made me.
Admiral Akbar?
That might have been what's his face? Raptor.
Brian.
I don't know.
Yeah, Deep Six.
Brian has the dead hooker in the closet. I mean, he doesn't need anything else. He's happy.
Yes, dead hookers are all in the closet are always so much fun. But as far as Deep Six, this is all the information that we have. These are the people that know what the Scourge targets are going to look like. Yeah, you do bring up the point about corrosive, and the only question that I have is when GD Rakin says fundamentally, you want to have your hulls have ballistic and radioactive. I don't know, of course, we assume there's going to be plasma damage, but from what we've seen in the past, as far as siege targets, there's usually torpedo towers that do concussive damage. But I don't know. We can only go by what we've been told, and they seem sort of emphatic that it's ballistic and radioactive, from what I can read.
Has anyone heard about a preview yet or anything?
They said something about the preview, but they used the premium boards coming soon. I think was on roster, if I recall well. Has a post about it that more info is coming soon about preview or something like that, but they didn't even say if it was going to be next week, the end of next week, the beginning.
Well, it better be next week because the 12th is the raid. So.
And we only have, one more FM to even squeeze out tokens to get these things done?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the thing is they put in 4 tier 4 things, so they screwed us out of at least another day's worth of tokens by doing that.
I'll have 2, possibly 3 done by the time the raid, and that's stretching it. I've actually had to cancel one of my build projects for this month in order to actually fit all 3 in.
If we don't get anything else, I think I can finish my 4, but they're going to be pretty suboptimal, I feel like. And I won't have like a flagship or anything if they're going to ban defenders.
I don't think they're banning defenders just yet. I think you got a couple months to still use an Omega.
In the new targets, they are banned. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
because this is a new target in 2017, so I figured they were banned. So okay.
So yeah, you're gonna need a Highlander's nuclear cruiser some point soon.
Well, I don't have one. I don't want to spend 8 days building one because they're just gonna chuck a Cannoneer flagship out at some point.
Yeah.
And then I gotta rebuild. I gotta rebuild the whole after they give us the weapon in special that they withheld from us for so long without it.
Personally, I'm wondering. Normally, we've been seeing this two path price structure where you go up, the right or the left, and we know the Ironclad is coming out the next raid, and also,
I think that's what they said,
yeah,
I
and
hope
also, also the Cannoneer is supposed to come out. So
I would think that's all on one side, though, don't you?
They haven't really done that.
I think it would be the special, the gun, the Ironclad, and then the Cannoneer. Something like that.
Unless one's going to be in a separate store.
Yeah. Because normally
that makes no sense because
they have not tied. So you have the Tiger Shock, the weapon, the special, and then the Hellwraith. That was all on one side.
Yeah, but that makes no sense because normally the Cannoneer is the top tier with the weapon and special, and then are lower tiers. And normally it's an alternative tour of prices over there. And the Ironclad is going to be new, so I would suppose that will be the one on the right side.
And normally the secondary haul on the list is about 900k points.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't be surprised. That will be the Centurion in this case, and maybe the sub weapon will be the pack again.
Yeah, I would expect it.
Looking at the points,
I would expect it to be the secondary one on the siege side would either be the Centurion and then the Cannoneer, or the Punisher and the Cannoneer, something like that. I don't expect them to introduce new technology at such a low price.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cent and Cannoneer on the left. Would they even redo Fusion Cruiser? Because they kind of abandoned that thing. Like,
I don't think they would.
Yeah,
I don't see them doing the Fusion Cruiser unless they add retros to it.
Like, retros, right the hell now, retros.
Why would you do the Fusion Cruiser over, like, the, damn it, what the hell is it called?
Centurion?
No. The one that's, it's a cannon hull. It was the one that came with the Obelisk.
The Crusader?
Yes.
I'm thinking this is the bottom right now. Because we've got the bottom left, that would be the Centurion.
That's true.
Yeah, I think that the Crusader is lower tech than could be the Centurion, so I
Well, the
don't. I
Crusader
normally
is
don't
pretty
put
easy to get
vehicles on.
through the Foundry.
Well, but they did the Tiger Shark on the last cycle on the left, and that was the tier 4 stuff. I think the Rhino was on the left as well in the Apollo raid cycle, and that was the tier 4 stuff. So I'm just extrapolating from that. Tier 4 is Centurion, and it goes there.
Yeah, and I'm extrapolating also. If you look at, if you remember the cost and price on last Holo store, it was 900 for that pack and 1,750 for the Centurion. Normally, those are the cost of the tier 3 and tier 2 of the prices on that rate. So I suppose that the lower one would be, or either I don't know, maybe the one of the two armors, or maybe the ballistic one, or maybe the radioactive one. I think the radioactive one, they give less cost to that one, so probably could be that one, D5R or something like that.
I mean, we have to also think we only have 3 months in this cycle, so they're gonna have to crank out all this stuff if we're gonna have a flagship for the Cannoneer and a flagship for the Ironclad.
Well, I'm thinking we're going to have a TLC each week, a new TLC per week, because that seems to be what they're doing.
Sorry, official response. But yeah.
I think that the flagships may come after the raid, not before.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just so much. This is where I wish they had, had actually shared a little bit more, considering it's coming up to a new cycle, and we're also approaching it differently this time than last time, and we're also cutting it down to only 3 rather than 4. I mean, there's 3 changes here that, we kind of. It would have been good to get a little bit extra information.
Yeah, it really would have helped us prepare for this. A works in progress.
Oh.
Rip whip.
Hey, we can have Hefty post on the forums about it.
One more.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, one more unfortunate thing that died in 2016.
Because if they're gonna do it,
Brian,
take
you
it
had
away
to go
for
there.
each month. They need to at least do it for each new raid set to give us a little bit of information on what's coming for the raid set.
Yeah, and the thing is,
you can go.
Go ahead. Okay. So in statistics and experiments in general, you really only want to change one thing that at a time. That way you can know if that one thing is the thing that makes a big difference. When you change so many things at a time, it's really hard to pinpoint what works well and what works poorly. And these practices that they seem to be implementing where we don't really have a lot of information in the new stuff, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get it, sprung on us pretty soon before the raid or in the raid. The messages that sends and the way that Kix is wanting us to play just doesn't seem right, and I think I don't think this is going to work out well for them, and I don't think they're going to know why, and that's not good for anybody.
You don't think they'll know
No,
why? I think there'll be
Because
plenty of bitching in the forums, but I'm sorry, go ahead, Tito.
Oh yeah, but particularly.
No, I don't think. Or they will have to go with a very easy raid, this first one, or they just can put fireproof on the forums because they are going to go on flames. Because people will have no idea what people have. We are all guessing. Extrapolating maybe from the whole, likely George, others just guessing because building around the siege target that they already know. But I haven't been on the Scourge one, but when you say Scourge, normally people think about corrosive, and they didn't say anything about corrosive in there. But you could be thinking that it's going to be something like that.
They actually said
They
explicitly said it was going to be ballistic and radioactive damage.
They explicitly said.
Well, they said
fundamentally,
fundamentally you want ballistic and radioactive, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be any other sorts of damage.
If it's anything
So
but plasma, there's going. If it's anything but plasma, there's going to be hell. They will literally have broken their own rules and sabotaged the trust in the players if they put anything other than ballistic and radioactive and plasma. I guess you could sort of count the torp towers that tickle you. I hope they don't put those in there either. There's no reason to put them in there. Just give like a building thermal or something and stop.
But at the end of the day, it won't matter with the fleets that we have if it's concussive or corrosive or penetrating. It won't matter because we won't have it on any of our hulls, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of just not wanting to refit after they release. If they release like a new weapon in special, I'm gonna be really upset that I have to refit. I can't fucking stand refit shit that I shouldn't have had to refit in the first place.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's one reason I'm glad
Yeah.
I don't have cannoneers and don't have them built, because I can just use my Earthshaker puns, and then by the time I get around to building the cannoneers, we should have all the stuff for it.
I'm kind of hoping the Ironclad is not going to be in this raid for the simple fact that if we do have to freaking refit, look at how big the Tideseeker was in the last raid, and they're saying it's going to be the same thing in this setup. Try doing a refit on your cannoneers, plus having an Ironclad fleet done by the end of this raid cycle. It's going to be almost next to impossible unless you get every single token and you can do a small refit.
I feel a part of the reason that they were kind of that the Tideseeker did so well. One, they had the limited flagship for it. And that really boosted it. Two, I don't think they really understood just how dumb the Calamity gun was on the Tideseeker, because that is some pain. So much death off of one ship. It was great.
Any of you have thought that maybe we are looking for the special and we have it already, and it was that one in the Forsaken mission? The new
No.
loader?
The drum loader is nice.
It's not bad. I just don't think it's the handed down from on high what we were supposed to have.
I can't think of something off my build that I want to drop for it.
That's the other problem.
We don't know we don't know the effectiveness of evade or speed in the new targets yet.
Yep. And
I'm guessing you're not going to
Frontier
want evade,
question right there.
because I'm going off of the
Yeah,
mines we have right now. I don't think evade's going to help you. I think everything's going to be splash damage.
Actually,
well, they can't do that, because if they do that, then the Cannoneers, the Centurions will do better than the Cannoneer.
Well, the thing
Vastly.
is the splash weapons are dumbfire, and the cannoneers got a huge combat speed. So you can outrun the splash of the weapon if it's dumbfire.
Okay,
But
then
does
where's
it-
the skill?
Right.
Because this is a skill hull. I mean, skill generally means you're going to be kiting something. You can't.
Yeah, but the thing is
can't kite a
the
building.
siege raids are different than the sub raids because it's a completely different type of ship. Subs are
Right, but what I'm saying is,
in class
what
compared to other
skill
ships.
is there in clicking the back of the base? You know what I mean? If it's just a speed thing, you make it fast and you just drive by it. That's not skill. And if they want you to kite, say, a building, you can't get too close because you get nailed. You go too far and you can't hit it, but you still gotta be able to. I mean, you're gonna take damage. I mean, you're obviously gonna be under fire. The only skill that you can have in a siege raid is kiting it. So if it's a splash-based gun, it's the Centurion's going to do better.
I'm pretty heavily thinking it's going to be splash based, but there's going to be something we have to do to make sense of the cannoneers' combat speed.
I think that they might make it the way that the FM is you're going to have to kill the building on the platform in order to knock down the turrets. So I think that armor piercing, the way that they were suggesting in throwing the D110s, doesn't have to be a D110, but you know what I mean. The hard knocks ballistic weapons that really, like I think George already mentioned that, we don't have the great weapons, but I think that they'll do. And I think that if it were that way, I think that range, you'll be able to pierce through a target, however it is, and knock out the building, and then you can take out the turrets. That's what I think. Because I think they'll make it similar to the FM, kicks.
Well, I mean, they said that the buildings or the islands or the target itself. I mean, something is surfacing, right? So the question is how are we making it surface? Do we have to attack it to surface it? Do we have to attack? I mean, we can't attack a ship to make it surface. Like that.
No, I bet you it's on a timer. I bet you it's on a timer.
It's got to be on a timer. It's going to be like the first sub raid where the surfacer fields pop up and the buildings are going to pop up. And in order to get them, you're going to have to be able to run around the map because of how they pop up.
I am hoping that they have learned their lesson with timing shit, with timers and targets.
But
that's
George,
always been a bad idea.
But another resolve to that one is that this surfacing target that's underwater might surface when you're within X amount of range. And if you have more range, like on the Centurion, you're going to be able to dip in and dip out just as it's popping up. So I think maybe that might be the key to range.
With the Canadian.
Anyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that's just flavor text and doesn't mean anything. Because if we're talking about, oh, you got to stop at max range, you take a penalty in the form of stun and then tons of damage and, you know, max range and moving around really quick and stopping just at the edge of the range and maybe timing. We're doing the last raid cycle again. Wasn't fun.
Yeah, I think if they continue going on you at the time and precise driving, a lot of people are going to stop doing the raids because after 3 sub raids, I'm tired of it.
And the other
now,
thing is,
is
too,
anyone...
they lost 30,000 people going between the Apollo raid and the last raid set. You know what I mean? If they, you know, this is why I'm kind of antsy about having and introducing so many different things into one raid set, is that, you know, if you dip again that much, what happens to the game?
Has anyone
I don't know.
thought about the Ghost Crawler's EMP blast? If the platforms do go up and down, that may be one of the features that they use when it comes up, is it releases the EMP, which would be the stun resistance that we need.
I mentioned it specifically in the after show so they wouldn't get any ideas.
The only way I could see them working stun resistance with those platforms.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Or like the EMP
It might
blast.
be the other way around, likely the special you have in your base that when you destroy the target, you get the stun. Maybe that is something that, I don't know if it's the ballistic don't fire, that you are not interested in getting stuck over there, so it's easy for it to pierce through you, or maybe normally there are no mortars on those things, but who knows?
I mean, we've seen mortars.
At the end of the day. Well, there are no mortars normally, but the dupes are this type now as well, the uranium track base, and there are mortars on that one, so who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You might see it. I mean, I kind of wrote something that kind of hinted at Scourge, the next thing. Not exactly the way I pictured it, not the way that I wrote it anyway. But you know, because everybody, I think at the time that I wrote that, there was like a huge thing in the forums about people wanting Scourge back, and one of them either Reekin or Action, I think it was one of the mods was like, you know, be careful what you wish for, and I was like, ooh. So you know, I played on that. I do want to mention though, in the chat, someone is it Deep Six keeps on mentioning corrosive and concussive damages. We're not going to see anything significant of that nature in the next raid targets. We've been told this, so I would not build. I would not build for corrosive concussive defense. I'm just
right. I would agree.
Don't be building Tide Seekers for the next raid. I'm just saying. Really disappointed when the next raid rolls around and you're dead in like half a second. Just
when
saying.
you know that like one of these guys is going to be the guy that he has the Zealous and he has like the D5X and like D5U armors and a couple of corrosive and a couple of concussive and no siege batter, and he's going to run in and get chunked out and be like, why did I die? What is your build? I can do everything. Your build sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's always somebody like that in the raids.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, they're giving us blueprints kind of what to expect. And the Cannoneer, I mean, that's what I based everything, and I hope to God no one's actually building what I actually put in the article. That was just kind of an extrapolated idea that I had. I don't know until I see the target, just like anyone else. We've got to see the target first. But, you know, they give us the hull, and you can extrapolate some information from what they've put in the hull. Like, Splash is not going to be a huge concern next raid, or for the raid set, because otherwise they would have kept it for the Cannoneer, just like, you know, the Centurion had it. Instead,
or maybe it'll be there, but a little.
Yeah, if there's Splash, there might be a little bit, you know? I mean, it's not... You have to look at what they've given us, because in the last, how many raids now? 8 raids? They've given us what we needed to succeed. We just had to figure it out. You know?
The issue
Yeah,
is a
but
lot
people
of
that
people
people
don't want to think up of their own builds. So if you
Have
post a build,
There's like 4 of y'all talking at once, and I didn't understand a single one of y'all.
Well, I'm going to go first, but
Go.
the thing is, a lot of people really don't want to think of their builds. They don't read the description, so they got no idea what to do. They see you as a good player who knows what they're doing. You're going to post a build. They're going to be like, "Oh, I should build that," and then they're going to be upset that they built it and it might not work.
Well, I don't
'Cause you
think. I
get-
mean, here's the thing too. While I'm saying don't build it exactly like I said, I mean, I'm leaving off a couple of specials and I'm leaving a couple of weapon slots open, but I'm generally building what I had put up with no armor. Because like I said, and I think I'm pretty sure I said it in like bold letters, this is just a conceptual build. I wanted people to think about what they were building. And, yeah, even if you built it exactly the way it is, your refits are not going to be that bad, I don't think, when we see the targets. I mean, I think I did a decent job of extrapolating it. Of course, we're not going to know the target.
That's been very optimistic, George, because you know that many of the people doesn't think. They just go to a place that they know that there are builds and they ask for the build and build exactly. They don't even ask why
But Tito, here's the thing, man. And this is one of the things that I kind of try and strive for in that blog is I'm not trying to talk down to the people that are reading that. I assume that the people that are reading my shit can think. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how I write. That's why it might be, but I mean, that's why, there are bigger words than average in there for a reason, because I presume my audience has a brain. So, some people, I'm sure some people are going to build that and then be pissed off at me going, "Hey, you said build this." And I really didn't, but okay. But you'll still be in a better position having built it than if you, put a bunch of thuds on it and built for concussive defense.
Yeah, it's better than what you would have come up with, you scrub. No, it's good that they would actively be seeking information about the game, though. That's a good first step. It's always nice. They do care on some level. We see plenty of posts that people just do not care. It's like, okay,
they don't try. Yeah, there's a lot of people that just don't try either. That's true.
Yeah, it's like you got on the internet, you got onto Facebook, you posted a thing. You can read, so. Right. Okay. Keep reading. Info button, 2017. Info button tells you everything. Click on it. It's great. Maybe not everything, but a lot of things.
Like we said a little bit ago with the Zelos, for example, I see so many people trying to dual purpose that thing, and it's not working out well for anyone.
Well, the Zelos might actually be decent at doing the mid-level targets. I'm not saying it's going to be the best option, but it will be decent if you have nothing else to use.
Yeah, but if you build them properly, because I think that the word generalist, people is not taking it in the right way, because generalist doesn't mean that you can put the same build in all targets and it's going to go well. At the end of the day, you will have to build several different builds, one for each of the different targets with different specials on each, different weapons and such.
Well, it's a generalist.
So if the people think that generalist means just that you can put that single target everywhere, they are wrong.
No, I think they understand. Generalist means that it's made so it'll do several things. Like it's possible to one build won't do several things, but
that's what he's saying.
Yeah,
you have to do different builds to do different things.
Yes, yeah, but I think that Chris, I think it's also a good point to point out that hey, it will cost you more. Because it's a generalist hull, it's not going to.
Yes, it will. But if you're a mid-level and you're coming in, you don't have, the Cannoneer Punishers or the other ships, which you should because they came out last raid very cheap. But if you don't, you can do a design and you will be able to do mid-level targets and you should be able to grind out the raid. But you have to do a design that's got high ballistic and high radioactive defense, and it has cannons on it.
Follow the hints.
That's basically.
Yeah.
And Siege Battery 3, that's a great thing to put on them.
And here's the other thing I want to actually add, because I know we're really concentrating on cannons tonight. I would not discount launchers in general, like the Antipode, because it has a good area of effect kind of explosion thing. But not having seen the targets, we don't know if that's going to actually work or not. If the turrets are too far apart, it's not going to really behoove you to go that way. But I had a lot of success with the Antipode in the FM, when it first was the 107s and stuff, which are now 102.
Yeah, the Squall launcher.
If they put it too far away.
The Squall, I'm gonna say don't fucking use it, because here's the thing: if you want to compare the two, if you're looking for that shockwave, the Antipode does it in 60, buildups. The squall does it 120. At 30,
Oh yeah, right.
at 30,
Yeah.
you get that little debuff if you're attacking a ship with the antipode, where you get none with the squall.
Now, does
And
that debuff
incredibly important debuff that halves their defenses? Yeah, it does.
And the thing is the explosion is also 10,000 less, or like 8,000 less on
The
the
antipodes
squall.
do just under $24,000, or not dollars, damage,
Wow,
but that's
that's
not
expensive.
counting. It's not counting if you've got the
Are we finally playing in
supercharger
coins?
that does up to 30% damage. It goes up to like almost 30,000.
But if you're trying to do a siege target, right? What I'm saying is this: if you're trying to do a siege target, the antipode does half damage on each flechette on the building, so you actually can build up that 60 stack to get the explosion much easier without destroying the building. Okay,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah, I know
the
what you're talking about.
squall, if you start hitting it with the squall has really high for its. I mean, it's not as high as the cyclone. It's about
But it's
half
got
big,
pretty high.
but it's
Yeah.
got a high flechette per flechette damage, and you're going to kill the damn building way before you get a damn shockwave. So don't use that piece of shit.
Well, the
It's
thing
not
is, it's got the defenses on it, but you could fill in those places with the impact
D30R.
cannon, whatchamacallit.
Yeah, the D30R.
Or even Inferno.
And you might not even need it. I mean, we don't know
Yeah.
yet. If you're looking for ballistic, you might want to use Siege B mortars.
But keep in mind, a lot of people don't have antipodes. They've only been in like what, 2-3 raids.
Yeah.
So
no,
if you're a
that's-
mid-level
have
player
them.
just coming in, your best option, if you have, it's going to be the squall launcher for a launcher type thing, because all the other ones pretty much suck. The S ones do a lot of
Cyclone.
building damage, though.
Yeah. There's some S ones. There's some S ones that do okay, and you don't need accuracy. There's the cyclone. The cyclone does a good amount of flechette per flechette damage.
Not
No.
to buildings.
Not to buildings that don't.
Not to buildings. Oh,
Not to
That does like
buildings.
90%.
okay. Then I would
Like
look.
10%.
I would look at those S launches then. I would look at the S
Yeah.
launches before. I mean, I do not like the squall. I do not like the squall at all.
I like
Wow.
the idea of it, but I think, like you said, it takes double the amount of fletch it hits to build up the shockwave. That's a mistake. If it was the same or close to the antipodes, it would be a really good launcher to use.
I think it would still destroy the building before you got the shockwave, though.
Probably, but
Is that true with the newer ones?
do you
The
mean?
level, the level 8
And the
turrets?
97s or the 95s?
No idea. I've
I
not.
haven't tried
I'm
any.
talking more about base hitting.
Oh, well, that's
Uh,
1.2
that-
million on a level. What? That's a level 9 turret, right? Or a level 8 turret.
Wait,
Level 8 turn has
So level-
1.2.
1.2 million. That's without any protection. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just bare bones.
And then keep in mind, because it's a level 8, it's got 25% defense against all, and that doesn't count specials.
Tier 6 is going to come out with like 2.5 billion damage.
yeah,
We're
that-
moving into the billions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about base hitting. I've never really looked at launches for base hitting recently.
The
I've
only
looked at
people
Cyclone-
I've
I've looked at the Cyclone for
concepts
broken
and
out
punching
fleet.
them in the
That's
dick.
about it.
Have we sort of run at the end of speculating? I mean, we're running close to the hour.
I just wanted to make sure people didn't. Yeah, we're not leaving out
No.
launches on purpose.
I was going to introduce a new topic. Is all
Oh, go. Yes, go.
Okay. I was thinking, since all the other shows have done it. I was thinking, all the other shows is, a summary of the year. I was thinking that we'd go around, and the first time everybody talks about their favorite thing that's happened this year, and then the second
easy.
round, what's their least favorite thing that happened this year. Agree with mine, you're probably wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So you get to go last on both of them then.
Okay.
That way we
All
don't have to
right.
deal with it. I mean, that's not bad. I mean, who's going to start? You want me to start?
Sure, since you offered.
Sure. You can only say one thing, though.
Okay. Best thing. Do you want both of them now, or do you want just to do best thing first?
Best thing first,
No,
and
well-
second time around, worst thing.
Okay. Best thing by far and away easily is the tokens in the FM. Fantastic. If people don't realize this yet, once you start getting up to the point where you're getting tokens, it changes your game completely. I mean, absolutely, utterly changes the way you play the game because the tokens are so good.
Okay. Highlander, are you still there?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing that happened this year?
Oh, well, I have to agree with the tokens. Uh, real. I don't know what else to say about it other than
Okay. No, it's no pressure. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's my close second.
You're
Personally.
wrong. You're
Yeah.
wrong. But anyway.
No. Can I skip ahead?
No,
I'll
you're
go.
last.
Okay. Alrighty. Everybody knows what my favorite is, though. I already
I'll
said
go.
it on. Okay.
Base parts base parts in general and base parts used for upgrading turrets and buildings.
Okay. Who wants to go next? You want to go next, Brian?
Yeah. Seconded. Well, I guess thirded. Tokens in the FM. Between the tokens in the raid and tokens from the FM, I should be able to complete a set of 4 cannoneers, hulls, all weapons and armor, and specials. Kind of a cheap build, like I have D1Cs in there and the Earthshakers for the build time in particular. But in a month, set of 4, done, scold, no coin, all skill. But
Okay.
that's only possible because tokens have them.
Okay. Chris, you want to go next?
Well, my two are already taken, base parts and tokens. Tokens, I think, is slightly above the base parts because I like building ships more than my base. But yeah, the base parts for upgrades along with the reduced build times for turrets.
Yeah, the reduced turret, the reduced builds in your base I consider that a different category. So yeah, that's a
Yeah.
new thing right there.
I think I'll say Outpost 9 is my favorite thing to happen this year because of everything it brought.
Mr. Tito?
Well, they have all been said, but I agree. The reducing builds and repair times that they have done, although they have messed a bit at the end of the year, for me has been the best thing. I
Okay.
agree with tokens, but well, it's part of the reducing of builds.
Okay. Hollywood?
My best thing of the year is thus far is that they haven't. I might be speaking a little bit curt here, a little prematurely, but they haven't made the gantry or the omega a requirement for continuing with some part of the game. That's my favorite part.
Okay. Did I miss anybody besides myself? Nines? Did you go Nines?
Yeah, I said base parts.
Okay. Okay, so is it my turn yet, George?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
you can do it.
My favorite part of the game, which I think happened in April of this year, is they moved everything.
He's wrong. I don't care what it is. He's wrong.
Okay, they removed everything related to ships and whatnot, server side, and they took all the hackers and they chopped off one of their nuts and half of their other nuts, and
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing that happened in the game personally, especially if you're part of an alliance or anything like that. Because when I was part of an active alliance, that was the worst thing ever, was the hackers just coming in with instant repair, crazy ships and whatnot, and then your alliance members crying about it. So I really think the move to server side that they did in April was personally the best move that I saw for the health of the game.
That's a good one.
I actually have one more thing that I just
Uh-oh.
thinking into that.
Caveat.
Yeah, we don't care.
No. Increasing the shelf life of ships. Bringing in the classes and allowing us to use our ships for so long compared to, what was it, 1 to 2 months? Now we're up to, what, 10 to 12 months for using most ships now?
Okay.
I don't know. My
All
rhinos
right.
got a lot more.
You already had your one. All right.
So what? We're on the worst thing now.
Yeah, the thing that you disliked the most that's happened in the last year.
That one's
I'm
tough.
going to say removal of the works in progress.
That's up there for me personally.
I'm
That's
actually kind of
that's on my list.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn between the forcing of the sub. I think while I loved the sub raids, I love this last set of raids. I don't think that it. I don't think it was a good thing for the community. I think it turned off a lot of people. I'm tied between that and this turning to a 3-month cycle and not giving us the shit ahead of time. I'm torn between those two things because I think the last raid set that might actually have to be my thing. Even though I really loved it, I loved all of them. I think that
George, you're cheating.
I'm not cheating. I'm going to go with that.
You're going to mention multiple things. That's
I'm going with that. I'm going with the last raid set because of the loss of players. That's it. That's my thing. I loved it, but I don't think it was good for the game.
Okay.
Next time we put George at the end as well because he is calling too many.
Yeah.
Then he's trying to use something in 2017.
Alrighty. Highlander, you got a thing that you didn't like that happened this year?
Well, I'm not quite sure about all this. I mean, a lot of different things they did. It was nice that they, had raid cycles that were the same, for a little bit, but the changing of, the new ways they're going to be doing things, I'm like y'all, I'm not sure about all of it. I haven't even built, even started trying to build those Zelos or anything. I'm just been refitting my, Centurions and finishing off my Harlech Centurion. And I will mention, no, that's not a least favorite thing. But I just don't really know.
But you said that's not your least favorite thing. What is your least favorite thing?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm only pressing you on it because you said it wasn't your least favorite thing.
Oh, no. What I was going to say is something about that new autoloader thing they got is not as good as the autoloader 3. It just does not compare.
All right. Who did we do next last time? I'll do Brian next. Brian.
Defer to nines. Nines, go. Side chat.
Okay.
Nines, go get him.
Okay, my least favorite thing was class restrictions. Class restricted specials, not weapons yet. But yeah, specials, and now we're seeing class restrictions into targets.
Okay. I can see that. Tito.
For me, the worst they have done is trying to put us in a path and not allowing us to think about out of the box most of the time and trying to punish us for doing it.
Yeah, especially that we don't know until we have actually built it. I agree with a lot with what Tito says on this. And it's not so much that they didn't present it to us. It's just the fact that we do it, then we figured out it doesn't work because we don't know at that point. You have to actually build something to see that it doesn't work. And it might take, 2 weeks of builds to realize, oh, yeah, what you built looks good according to the numbers, but may not work. But yeah, no, that's, and the lack of creativity associated with it. I agree with you, Tito. Hollywood? Did you already go?
Oh, nope. You're asking for the least favorite thing. I think my worst thing this year is has just been the issues with continuity with their server. The many times that we've dealt with it, I couldn't count them, obviously, but it's definitely more than one hand's worth. And this phase that we're going through right now is definitely the worst with whatever they're doing and why everything's glitching the way it is.
But is that a new thing?
No, it's just getting inherently worse.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I don't want to call out Hollywood's thing, but I don't know that it's actually been worse this year than in previous years.
I think he means like right now in the past week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm doing like a year review, so you know.
So are we doing fiscal year review, or are we just doing 2016
Calendar year?
Okay, well, I don't remember this issue like this lasting for this long. Not this
Okay.
year.
Okay. No, I was just giving you a chance to throw another one out since George had like 4 of them.
Oh.
So full of shit.
Am
Come on, Hefe. Let's
next?
find out how you're wrong again. Yeah.
I deferred to Nines because Nine
Oh,
had to
that's
leave.
right. Brian's still got to go.
Brian's next. Yeah.
Yeah, and Nine's brought up a good point about the class-specific components, especially because they've all been very poorly designed, I feel, like the war armor in particular, and hopefully that's, if they keep that around, hopefully that will change with the banning of Conqueror hulls, because then there's no way for players to take advantage of the benefits that they would provide in PvE targets. But my actual answer is going to be the first raid in this raid cycle. Everything that led up to it was just terrible on nearly every front. You had the glitch with the repairing where it would stick with the second of repair for the subs. Now I'm biased because I got hit by that and couldn't build or refit or launch or do anything with the sub. So that kind of hosed me. But there was that. There was the speaking out about the A points. Oh, George, you need to do a Photoshop again where you put the thing where they talk about transparency onto the thing where they're like, there's a canon and special coming soon. Ooh,
I don't know that went over all that well the last time I did that.
Oh god, but that was the best thing in the raid for me was that picture. There was the hunter killer mortars that might have been out. The asset point reduction. The horrible.
You guys said I had a lot.
Huh?
Nothing. Continue. I'm just saying.
The fact that George actually found the best method that was to split up and attack the targets and not care when we were all told about the be stealthy and quick, do. Well, actually, that's suboptimal. The optimal strategy is to go ham and kill everything. So just like they failed massively everywhere. It was terrible. Everybody hated it. Massive drop in players. That's complaints. Yeah, congratulations. I'm glad you liked it. Some people think the U.S. government is doing a good job, but they're also in the minority.
I was done in that raid in like 20 minutes.
Congratulations. I'm glad you did well. Your results were hilarious, by the way.
Okay,
Sure
let's do one more question here. If you were tomorrow the CEO for one day,
you're skipping me, aren't you?
What
He's got to go because we're apparently all wrong and dumb.
What?
Yeah, we have to have Hefe's. Hold on, Hefe has to answer
tomorrow.
first.
Hefe has to answer. Oh, okay, I thought you were going to mute him or strike your head.
No, he didn't answer yet. I'm not going to mute him. I'm eating.
No, I mean, I think most of mine is a combination of Brian's and several of you know, about half of you is just a general communication issue that's been going on, you know, about the last half of the year. You know, the whip being gone, the lack of communication associated with what's going on currently with the next raid, just the general drop in communication, clues or whatever you want to call it, like how the players should move forward based on what we know. And I think personally, that's my biggest issue is just communication with the community has dropped off because I think it's been relegated to groups like this. And that's not a good move in my opinion as far as things go. That it's sort of been taken. Kickside doesn't, you know, want to do it themselves.
on the other hand of that, though, I mean, do you remember about a year and a half ago how we stood? I mean, I think, with context, I think they've gotten a lot better. Could they do better? I mean, obviously they could do better, but
I mean, a year and a half ago we had the whip, right?
that was not even close to accurate.
The robot did the whip. Robot started the whip before. Yeah. What did you say that's not accurate?
I'm just saying that the amount of information that we get now.
Why did you say that wasn't accurate? I'm just curious.
Because that actually was a work in progress type thing back then. It wasn't. I mean, there was a lot of things they'd come out and say that they were going to do, and then they didn't do, and that's part of the reason why a lot of people started freaking out about it. And that's why it went. It took a break for a couple of months, and then it went to, instead of having actual dates, it was this is what we're planning sometime this month. You know what I mean? Or this is going to be happening at the end of this month. I mean, it was a slow progression of why we lost the whip. But I'm saying overall, compared to a year and a half ago, the communication between the company and the community has gone way up.
Okay. I'm not sure if I agree. James in the chat is saying the repairs are up again.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's somewhat true, especially as it relates to trying to rank up your Cannoneer and your new siege halls.
Yeah, the Cannoneer sucked.
I got mine done in 2 hours. Good.
Oh, I got mine. I got mine done. I got mine done coin free, but I also was using a tank and lead.
I just kited the heavy crew just like a boss.
Dude, I loaded all mine with Thud 4s. It took like 8 minutes to load a Thud, so it was like a 3-minute wait and then click and then click. So I did 3 of them that way and just kited in the 80s and just took out all the the scatter ships and just let them chase me around for almost the full timer, and it worked.
You could just have Benny Hill music on the whole time, and you're going around because you're so fast.
Just going around. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did with the triple salty too. I just sent in Apollos to snipe out the Zoes, and then once it's cleared, you just keep circling around until you get it done.
Yeah, that's right, and it worked. You got a lot of freaking VXP from just using Thuds.
Anybody watching though would think that you've gone nuts or something, but it's okay.
Before we go out on this tangent, I want to see because Hefe answered. Now I want to know what Tito actually wanted to ask. And if we're going to draw this show out, might as well get them all done. What you got, Tito?
Yeah, Tito, what was question number 30?
Question number 3 is if you were to CEO of Kickside for one day, what would you do? What would you change?
If I was CEO of Kickside for a day,
yeah. If you will have him for one day and you were going there and giving directions to them, what would you do?
I don't know that what I want. I don't know if what I want could be done in a day. I would want a clearer path for new players to get relevant in the game very quickly, and I mean very quickly. I want them to be able to participate in a raid within 3 months. I want them to be able to hit a significant amount of points in the FM within a month. I would want to fast track new players. That would be my thing. Is I would want new players fast tracked. I want to figure out a way to get players back into the game.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do if I was CEO of Kickside. Is I would make that a priority.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like the campaign holes and stuff like that, I'd make it so you could build any of those ships, full fleet in under a week.
Hell, I'd have the Punisher in to be researched at this point. Honestly.
And drop the build time definitely.
I mean, look, you need some way for players to get to Tide Seekers because that's the uranium way. You know what I'm saying? These are things that if you're going to put it in game, you have to also plan for other players to get to this shit. You can't just go, well, you're going to have to wait 6 months to get no one's going to wait fucking 6 months to feel like they can play in the game. They want to be able to feel like they're playing. It's not this old ass, hey, I earned it bullshit, because at the time we were all in the same boat. We were relevant to each other. Right now, a new player feels like dick when they look at some of us playing.
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah,
but they put those new conquerors in the.
they ain't worth shit.
Those are
Yeah, but to
useless.
a lower player, they are.
They aren't worth shit because they ain't
no,
got time to
it's
build them.
useless even for them.
You're not gonna build them if you're a new player coming in. You don't want to build those fucking things. You
Conquer
want to get
Advance
relevant in the
Season
FM.
17.
The FM is your thing. The FM is the thing in the game you have to hit first. And I'm saying they should be able to get to that within a month. Maybe not to tier 5 in a month, but you know what? At least to get to tier 3 or 4 within a month. And that way, within 3 months, they're going to be participating in raids. And you know what? That's where they make the fucking money.
Yeah, besides, what are you
players
going
in,
to do
get
with
them
that conqueror
hooked, get them
hole?
get them addicted like us, and the game will survive.
Besides,
Guys, I have
what
a
are you going
question.
to do with that hole? It's less worth than any of the other conqueror holes you have. You can, with the new rules they have, you are not going to be able to use it besides base hitting, and base hitting is the last of the objectives you have to put yourself. You have to do first the Forsaken mission so you can get those that text so you can improve in this game. Then you want a hole for doing raid or a hole for getting uranium, so you're not dependent on so much on the other ones. So you're not going to be able to use that conqueror holes that you are researching in any of those tasks.
Put the Punisher or the Tide Seeker in to get researched.
Plus,
give it 30
if you
days.
go
Give
to
it
a guy
30
like
days.
George-
A 30-day research.
Plus, you go to a guy like George that is a merc, and what he's going to get you in that next raid is going to be much better than what you are just researching. And by the time you finish that hole, you are going to do much better.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, for 10, $20, you are going to get above any of the crap that you have in the research lab now. But like I'm saying, if you want them to be, if you want them to feel relevant, put the Tide Seeker in the damn to be researched. Give it 30-day research. I mean, hell, at least you'll know it's coming. You got them hooked.
Guys, I have a question. If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
The elephant in the room. What is the consensus on the best cannoneer build to prepare yourself for the raid?
That's what this whole show has been about. Where have you been?
Yeah, we don't have any stats on the raid.
Put that by the camera and then flip it.
You cannot answer that question because you have not seen the hole, so you just can go guessing. And here is like a big bet, and the winner is the only one that is going to get less repairs than the others.
I have.
Can I answer that one smartly, George?
Go ahead.
Anti-health sculpt. I don't know what to put on them.
And then George will say, "You're a fucking moron," but I'm waiting.
No,
for
he's
it.
not.
Okay.
He's not saying anything.
So-
He's going to be nice for a while.
Kind of, everyone can overthink this one, and we can all guess. But at this point, we know that the Centurion was made for mining bases, right? We can agree on that one. It was made for mining bases. Now, the raid is going to be, obviously, it's going to be a different format. And I'm uncertain whether the raid will go into a format that actually has you not performing as well and hitting mining bases with that same fleet, or it would be complementary. What I would say is that I look at the strengths of the Centurion, and it has 5 armor slots, and it has decent evade, has decent protection, but what it has that the Centurion doesn't have is it has the splash, but it doesn't have speed. So the thing that I'm thinking with the raid is that I think that not the splash, but that slow effect from the ice fields, and it's not necessarily stun, and we're being fooled that stun is important because it did show us the ST5, and they did show us the evade, and I think that evade is the key. If there's any stun effect, it won't be a stun like we think it is a stun. It's a slow effect. If I were going to build one right now, and you were just fitting them, it's hard to determine the weapons you would want to use. But I'll tell you what, instead of using an agility 4, I'm just screwing with it, and I'm fucking putting a tactical system, a shielded tac 3 on mine, of course with the siege battery, because even at the speed that I've tried to run in the mining bases, even at that fast speed with 3 of them, you still get a trail end of that splash from the radioactive, and that's the biggest dollar amount. Now evade, your armors can be just D5E, and it gives you an ample amount of evade to avoid the ballistic, but I don't think that the inherent damage of stun is going to be effectual because that would be an egregious error on Kix's part to throw a -50 on a Cannoneer. And even if you put agility and the ST5 on there, you're getting a mere what?
34. If you put agility
4%?
34,
Yeah.
34 just with one armor.
Oh, yeah, just with the agility, right?
Agility and one stun armor.
Yeah, and I don't think it's stun. I think that slow would be important, but having enough evade. Just if you're over 60% in the evade, that's not bad. That's not shabby. You're still avoiding the ballistics because they're not smart fire, they're dumb fire, right? So
I hear you, but there's one thing I mean that just keeps nagging at me. The buildings are going to dive, right?
yes.
The buildings are going to dive and then emerge. For some reason, I seem to think that when it comes to stun, it's going to behave like the ghost crawler and the deep dive.
Oh.
If you think about it.
Yeah, it is Scourge. It has a Scourge effect.
Yeah, so the buildings are going to dive, and once they emerge, they are going to stun. I don't believe that they're going to be splash only. I agree with you about splash and the importance of evade, but a direct stun has to be involved, especially if the buildings dive. So you will need agility 4. That's my contention. That's my theory. I could be wrong, but Kixeye loves their dynamics. If the building's going to dive, which is weird, okay, but we had a torpedo that doesn't shoot underwater, so you can expect anything. So if the building dives, and once it emerges, it's going to stun.
Okay, so then
personally, I think they're gonna draw a harder line than we've seen previously between A sets and S sets, and that's where that's going to come into play. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
The fact that there's going to be a stun component in one and not another, and the range is going to come. I think they've been making things so it's simpler for them to do for a while. And I think that's where this is going to come into play. I could be wrong, but I think
we're all guessing. It's all one big pot right now. That's something a lot of people are angry about. Kixeye, the lack of information. I mean, come on. This is the raid, the build that's supposed to carry us for like 3 months or 4 months now. Not a single piece of information. I mean, even if there's not going to be a gun or a special, just tell us that. But you have no idea what's happening in the sector. People are guessing.
So the
and they're trying it out on drop lines.
There's no easy way to avoid this. The damage we receive from the ice, because the Cannoneer, compared to a Centurion, because it doesn't have that field resistance, when you get any amount of damage from the radioactive, maybe that's why they made the ship a longer repair, because inherently it's just going to take more damage.
Longer repair than what?
More repair than a Centurion at this point, the way it stands.
They both have the same repair efficiency. They're both pointing.
Better resist. Well, same resist probability to R5. You know that 325 more deflection?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's going to be important. I really do think you're going to take less repair time damage with a Cannoneer than you are with a Centurion. Otherwise, what's the point?
I mean, have you seen them both? If you used a pair of Cannoneers, even in a 97 or...
Yes, an alliance mate of mine actually did that today.
Opposed to a couple of Centurions. So the Centurions are taking less damage.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's what you said before. The Centurion was built to be done with the old style, and that's one of the reasons that they are even allowing you to use the Conqueror hulls until this raid is over.
Yeah.
Because the new hull you are building, that Cannoneer, is not built for that old setup. It's built for the new setup they are introducing. So it's true that the Centurion is performing better, but it's performing better because it's performing in the environment he was built to work with. and the new one is not.
Exactly.
I see. Yeah, and it
And
might
if
be
you
the
look-
separating
If you take a
of
closer
the
look
two.
at this, sorry, if you take a closer look at the strengths of the Cannoneer, Kixeye keeps emphasizing speed, and it keeps saying maneuverability, which brings to attention glacials and mortars, which is something that the Centurions won't fare well against. So
They don't have enough speed.
yeah, you don't have enough speed.
Don't they?
No, they don't. They don't have enough speed, and I don't know. The Cannoneer just has better stats overall, whether deflection or anything. It just fares better. If you want to do something, try the Cannoneer and Centurion in a Dracuranium base. I'm betting the Cannoneer will do better. I'm betting. I'm not sure, but I'm betting the Cannoneer will do better.
Even without any antis on it, because you can outrun anything falling on you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the whole question in there was not being able to use the packs because if they throw walls, and that's what everybody's waiting on. I know George likes the 3 ARB deal, and I like that. I like that option too. I really do.
It's good, but it's a little bit too late. The single ARB is what, 22 hour per gun?
Yeah, I've already started loading though, and I still got 4 tokens, plus I got another 10 coming next week, so I can hold off and do the FM on Saturday and start finishing my refit, and I'll be good. I mean, that's the way I'm playing it.
So you're going with ARBs,
it's not just that.
or are you putting something else?
From today to the raid, you have days as well, and you have those days to use as well, because it's not just tokens. You have still 1 week and a half before the raid.
It also assumes that everything else is done, unless you're running unarmored Cannoneers, which you can.
I just have empty shells right now, and I'm seriously worried because I don't know what to put on them. That's my question. I'm just going to put 3 crossbows, 4 packs, and 4 the Reaver cannon, the Reaver siege cannon. I don't know what it's.
You can fit. Yeah. You can fit the.
Is that good or bad? I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't know. But I don't mean to interrupt anybody individually. But is there anything else that anybody has left that's still good for YouTube broadcast, or should we go to the after show at this point, and we can still continue to?
I think we can move because show is already an hour and a half.
Yeah. I was just making sure that nobody had anything that they wanted to.
I wanted to throw a quick answer to Tito's question about if I was CEO for a day.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Increase the amount of information available to the players. Maybe not necessarily like minimum damage or things like that, but like an in-game glossary. Update the campaigns using more relevant hulls. Give them a tutorial in campaign form on how to use remote targeting, because it's not necessarily that easy for a new player. It's like, what is this yellow ring? Well, I can't fire, because they'll stack the whole fleet up and they'll wonder why they can't fire in the yellow ring and what it's used for. Maybe like a C tier version, like if the Cannoneers if the Tide Seekers are good for A sets and the Tiger Sharks would be good for B sets, give them the Tiger Sharks, give them the tier 4 stuff researchable, because who cares? Get them in and then get them an easy ladder they got to go up. Something a little worse than Tide Seeker, things like that.
Yeah, I would say something in your lines, and I would say that we all know that for these people that is coming back, Kixeye is giving them something. At the point was the Rhino, another last raid was the Tiger Shark. Well, I would say that please, if you're going to do that, I'm okay with it. I don't have any problem. But at the same point that you give that to the new players, make that thing researchable for the other ones.
Yeah.
You're going to help everybody at the end.
Yeah, no, I do agree with Tito's point completely. I mean, the fact that there was players that were going along the whole way, and then you got like level 32s with, back in the day had Harlock Rhinos and Harlock Aegis and Rhinos, and there was level 60s and level 80s that didn't have that technology already built in. So once you start giving shit away, at that point in time, make it at least researchable for those other people. Because, okay, you know, a 10-day research and then a 24-day. Well, no, they give them 4 of it. An 80-day build.
It
You
depends.
at least
It depends. For
provide
example,
yeah. Go ahead.
I was 81 or something like that, and I got a full set of Rhinos. But people with other sets, with other levels, got different sets. There were people that were even given Harlock Aegis and that was, I think, if I recall well, one of the limited ones. So they have been given different things to different people depending on the level. So I don't.
Over the lunch hour, I would fix the level system. I have a plan. It's complicated and expensive, but I have one. Won't mention it here because it takes too long.
Oh, I proposed that to Paul Priest like 3.5 years ago, and he's like, "Oh, it's too late in the game." Yeah. So no, as far as resources in, resources out, and all that kind of stuff, you know, it's been so built into the game. I made that recommendation a couple of years ago. I can send it to you, Brian, when I did that. But yeah, that was a couple of years ago where I was like, "This is broken."
Yeah, my system would be based on tech rather than resource in, resource out.
Yeah, yep. That's the same thing I was going for. And so, you know, if you deleted a ship, you might go up or down. Or when a new hull arrived, you might go down. Yeah,
but that idea that you guys have is nearly on the game, because when you put a lot of new tech and new stuff on a fleet, the level of your fleet goes high up very fast.
That's just based on armor, though.
Yeah, but we're talking about like base level, not...
Yeah, base level, not fleet level. Fleet level on armor, it's fine because fleet level doesn't really matter a whole lot. You could do this with fleet level, too. It would just be a little weirder.
Well, I don't think it would work on... At least my idea wouldn't work on fleet level. Because...
I mean, it really depends.
Yeah, because, you know... Currently, I think it's based... Well, it's based on armor and tech, so it's... I don't know, whatever. So, anybody have anything else? Christopher,
Chat has
you've been quiet
something.
for a little while.
What?
You have anything else?
About?
Anything you want the public to hear about?
Not particularly.
Okay. Highlander?
Well, I just thought my worst thing I didn't like this year in the game is the way they changed the rolling of the road crews.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I haven't gotten one of those skullduggery crew in about 6 months. And some of that just upsets me.
I don't think anybody has.
I've heard of a couple people getting them, but I'm like, how?
Which crew in particular?
The skullduggery, Legend of Skullduggery.
Yeah, I haven't gotten one of those in months, and I've seen like. Did you see the last show when I put a little snippet about what China's doing with random drops in video games?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
What
I'm
is
just
that?
curious how China's passing a law that.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But you know, at that point, it'll be interesting to see, because we don't know unless somebody else knows. Kixeye's presence in China and whether they'll abide by this rule, because if they abide by it for the Chinese, they need to abide for it for the Australians. And maybe the Americans and the Spanish. I don't think they'll do it for the Spanish people, though. Come on, Tito. Just give me your time.
So we're done here.
Yeah, Tito's not paying attention. Tito's not paying attention. All righty. Well, we don't have George on to say, go fuck everybody.
Can I just say eat a dick 2016?
What about 2016?
Eat a dick 2016? The year as a concept means to eat a dick.
Say it one more time. You spoke
The
too quickly.
year as a concept needs to eat a dick. And we're done.